Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Peace be upon you all. Ba'da a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge with Allah against the accursed devil. As you all know, my name is Shuaib Abdullahi. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنَ قَوْلًا مِّمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. And who is better in speech than one who invites Allah and acts righteous and says, indeed, I am of the Muslims. هذه سبيلي أدعو إلى الله على بصيرة أنا ومن اتبعني وسبحان الله وما أنا من المشركين. This is my way, I invite to Allah by perception. I and whoever follows me, and glory be to Allah, for I am not among the mushriks, that is idolaters. الحق من ربكم فمن شاء فليؤمن ومن شاء فليكفر. The truth is from your Lord, so whoever wills let him believe, and whoever wills let him disbelieve. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وكونوا مع الصادقين. O you who have believed, beware of God, reference God, and be with those who are truthful. Now, as you all know, this is under the series I usually make, Let's Discuss Al-Islam. It's a discussion which has to do with the deen, that is Al-Islam. So normally I make it into series, and here we go. Some of the questions being asked, I bring them forth and I have to address them and then explain to the people, because those are some of the issues being circulating among people when they try to follow God alone. So I hereby bring such issues on board, then we discuss, then I show you the proofs concerning what God says in the Quran. Now, the topic of discussion today is, who is our guide? Who is supposed to guide us, and who is our guide, and where do we need to take guidance from concerning the deen? Right? If you go to a workplace, you have to take the guidance from the boss, and the boss has to give it to the supervisor in order for the supervisor to suggest to you what to be done. And similarly, when you go to a driving school, we have driving teachers who are put in place in order to teach you what to be taught, and then you can understand what to do concerning driving. And same goes with mechanic. Whether you are a pilot, in every craft, there is somebody in charge who has to supervise and guide you so that you do the right thing. So when it comes to the road traffic, there are traffic signs assigned on the street to direct you, to guide you. You understand? Good. So when we say who is our guide, yeah, salam Baba Sidi Naganka. Salam my sister Rashida, Mawiya Naganka. Sister Awa Bashiru Nagan. I've seen you. Zuzani Isan, I see you all. Salim Kana Kuwa Ragas, he's shouting, please. So who is our guide? This is the question. People who claim, oh, Muhammad is our guide, Sahih Bukhari is our guide, God is our guide. Some people will say the Quran is our guide. Who is actually our guide? This is what we want to find out today, right? Who is our guide? And then if someone or something is your guide, you have to take guidance from that thing or that personality or that entity. So who is our guide? So first of all, we have to go back to the Quran, because chapter 5 verse 101 tells us that, oh, you who have believed, do not ask about things if manifested to you would distress you, right? But if you ask about it when the Quran is being revealed, it shall be made clear to you. So now, so when we go to Quran chapter 20 verse 50, it tells us clearly there through Prophet Musa alayhi salam that He, God, is the one who creates everything, who created everything, or he creates everything you see around us in terms of nature. I'm not talking about artificially made. Who created everything you see about naturally and gave it its guidance. For instance, if you see the birds, God already gave them their guidance. If you see the cow, the sheep, the lions, the animals, the humans, the jinns, the angels, whatever you can phantom in your mind, God created such and gives them guidance, right? Not you, not me. So he gives such things guidance. And similarly, he created the human beings and he gave us guidance, right? And we are going to find out the guidance here. Apart from that, when you go to chapter 87, verse 3, he is the one who destines. Qaddar. When we say qaddara, that is to destine something, right? I was destined to be born in Africa, and I was destined to be born in Ghana, and I was destined to be black. I don't control that. I'm not in charge of that destiny. I wasn't in charge of that. If I have to make choice, I don't think this is the way I will look. I might choose something else. I might choose to look like a Superman or so. Right? But I don't have the choice. So God, he destines and then guides, right? You have no choice. For those who watch football, I like to use football for example. For those who watch football, you see there is a football coach and they are the football players, right? The football coach decides which player to play today or not to play. You, the player, don't decide. You don't tell the coach, I want to play. No. The coach decides whether you play today or not, whether you play 5 minutes or not. Salam, brother Hamza Hussein. Salam. Hey, Med, I see you. So the coach decides. So similarly, when we come about God, God decides, we don't decide. So he destines and then guides. Chapter 87, verse 3. So God makes the qadr. When we say qadr, to destine something to happen, we don't decide that. For instance, the seasons we have, the sun, the moon, the shining of the raining, we humans don't control that. Someone is in charge who destines that to happen. It happens by destiny, but somebody destined it to happen, right? So 87 verse 3 tells us that he destines and then guides. Now, this is the God we are serving, the creator of the heavens and the earth. When you go to chapter 57 verse 4, it tells you that there is nowhere you can be without him being there. Wherever you are, he is with you. He created you. So he can see you, he knows whatever you are doing. You get the point. Now, sometimes when we are at the workplaces, like for people who work in the companies and other organizations, when you're working, there's always a surveillance camera at the workplace watching you, and somebody is put in charge to be monitoring what you're doing at work. Whether you are a good worker, bad worker, all can be seen clearly. So the surveillance camera is just there to detect you, the worker, whatever you are doing, whether you are doing it well or not. Similarly, God is watching over us with his angels, and he knows wherever you are, whatever you are doing. He knows, right? So chapter 20, verse 50, it tells us that he gave everything its creation and then gives it guidance. And at the same time, chapter 87, verse 3, he destines and then guides. So the guidance is in his hands. So to make this interesting, when you go to chapter 92 verse 12, it says, indeed upon us is the guidance. So when the plural form is used, it has to do with the mediator, because Jibril alayhi salam, he brought the Quran to us, to Muhammad, as a messenger, and the message comes from God. So when Jibril is addressing Muhammad concerning the message, he has to use the plural form by saying we or us, or you understand, in a plural form. You understand? But it doesn't mean God is the one saying we. No, God has his own position. He is the God himself, right? Salam salis. So people sometimes misunderstand the concept of the we, the plural form in the Quran. They think, oh, why is God talking in plural form? Check chapter 20 verse 14. When God was addressing Moses direct, he says, innani anallah la ilaha illa ana. When he is talking by himself, he used the singular pronoun to address himself and talk to you. But whenever you hear we being used or us being used, it's not God directly talking. it is the mediator, which is the Jibril who brought message to Muhammad. He has to use the word we to address a message, what he was given to give to Muhammad. So when Jibril used the word we, some people will think it is God talking. It is not God talking in that sense. The message, the messenger is the one addressing another messenger. So whenever he is addressing, he has to use the word we. So I give an example. At my workplace, I'm working as a salesman, but I'm a supervisor. Now, when I'm working and you come to my workplace and you ask me, hey, do you guys have apples? I can say, yes, we have. Now, yes, we have here denotes that since I'm serving my boss, I'm also included in the we to tell you that, yes, we possess it here. But it doesn't mean I'm the owner. No, the boss owns it. So when the boss wants to address a customer direct, he can choose to use the word, yes, I have. It is his company. He can decide to use that, right? But God never met Muhammad directly for him to speak to Muhammad, just like he met Moses, alayhi salam, chapter 20, verse 14, where God was speaking directly by himself. You understand? He never met Muhammad directly. He has to send an angel to act as a mediator in between Muhammad and the people also. So this is why you see the we there. So when Moses was talking about God to the people, chapter 20, verse 50, he spoke in a singular form and said he is the one who gave everything its creation and then guides. He, right? So chapter 87, verse 3 also, he used a singular form to address himself by explaining who God is. He destines and then guides. Now when you go to chapter 112, Surah Al-Ikhlas, chapter of the sincere devotion, sincerity, you will notice that Jibril was the one telling Muhammad alayhi salam about God. So he says, say, Kul, Hu Allahu, say he the God is one. If it was God directly talking to Muhammad, he will say, I, the God, I am one. You see how it works. So the mediator will now stand in between the message and the messenger so that the message can be conveyed in different formalities. So this is how the Quran came about. Now when we go to chapter 2, verse 38, let's go and see the one who gave everything its creation and then guides. What did he send to us in order to guide us? Or how does he guide us? How is he supposed to guide us? So we have to go back to him from his book to know how the guidance work. We cannot just assume we are guided. No. If somebody asks you, are you guided? You don't say, I think I'm guided, which means you are not sure. It's just like I'm asking you 1 + 1 and you say, I think it is 2. No, the answer is wrong because you use the word I think. You are not sure. Something you are not sure of cannot be held as, the truth. You understand? You need to be sure you are guided. So at a workplace, if you're doing something, if there's a formula you're using to work, you have to be 100% sure. It shouldn't be, I think it is this way. No. You have to be certain about what you're doing. So if you are guided, you need to know you are guided. You don't say, I think I'm guided. It's a wrong way to think. So when you go to chapter 2, verse 38, in the middle of the verse, God was addressing us and he says, thus, whoever will follow my guidance. He used the word whoever will follow, not believe. Believing is different. Whenever you are given guidance, it's not about believing. You have to follow it. There is a difference. So whoever will follow my guidance, there will be no fear upon them, nor will they grieve. There will be no fear upon them, nor will they grieve. That is, whoever will follow the guidance of God. Now, apart from that, the verse I was just talking about can be found in chapter 2, verse 38, where God was addressing Adam, his wife, and Iblis, right? He was addressing them all by telling them, he says, we said, descend therefrom altogether, and when guidance comes to you from me, thus, whoever will follow my guidance, there will be no fear upon them, nor will they grieve. So if you follow the guidance of God, it's not about saying, I think I'm following the guidance of God. No, it's about knowing you are following. Then what will happen? There will be no fear upon them, nor will they grieve. So even at a workplace, if God gives you, if your boss gives you instructions and you are following it 100%, it's not about I think I'm okay. It is you know you are okay because you don't have any problem with the boss since you are doing as exactly how he told you to do. Do you get the point? So this is why Quran chapter 17 verse 36 tells you, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. So which means if you don't have knowledge in something pertaining to your religion, the deen, don't practice it. Wait till you are certain about it. Then you can pursue. You see how it works. You don't just get up and pursue something without knowing what you're pursuing. You need to be sure. Nifigri says, yes, I have a question, Shuaib. We all want to be guided. When I was a Sunni, I thought I was guided too. Now, as a Muslim, I want to be guided, but it feels so arrogant to say, yes, I am guided. You can say you are guided. It depends on the issue or topic of discussion, right? Nifigris, you can say you are guided. I give you an example. It depends on you being certain of what you are doing. First of all, when I take you to chapter 15, the last, if I'm right, yes, the last verse of chapter 15, verse 99, he says, وَعَبُدُ رَبَّكَ وَعَبُدُ رَبَّكَ حَتَّى يَأْتِيَكَ الْيَقِينَ. He says, and worship or serve your Lord until the certainty comes to you. So which means when you're serving God or worshiping God, you have to attain certainty as to there is no doubt in the worship I'm doing with God. Apart from that, Prophet Muhammad alayhi salam himself was asked to tell the people this, chapter 6, verse 161. This is what he says. He says, Kul innani hadani rabbi ila siratil mustaqim. He said it himself. He didn't say, I think I'm guided. He says, indeed, my Lord has guided me to a straight path, an upright religion, the creed of Abraham, the Orthodox. For he was not of the polytheists. So how did Muhammad alayhi salam actually receive this certainty that indeed God has guided him to the straight path? You need to attain that certainty. Worshipping God is not about I think I'm worshipping God or I think. No, you need to attain certainty. You have to be sure of what you're doing. This is why God says, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. It is only when you are doing something you don't have knowledge, that is when you have doubts. That is when you can say, oh, I think God will save me on the day of judgment. This is how it works. When you go to Quran chapter 39 verse 61, let me help you, the audience, right now to see something simple and clear, that when you're following God in the religion, you need to be 100% certain. You don't just doubt and think and assume things. It is illegal against you in your being. So Quran chapter 39 verse 61, on the day of judgment, listen what God says. And God will rescue those who were pious by their achievement. On the day of judgment, he will not rescue you because you look handsome or beautiful, or because you are popular, or because you were the relative of the prophet. He said, and God will rescue those who were pious because he gave you a book wherein there is no doubt, as guidance for those who are pious, right? So now he is telling you, God will rescue those who were pious by their achievement. No evil will touch them, nor will they grieve. So is it not about certainty here? You need to be certain. You have to have certainty about what you're doing. Imagine a pilot driving you in the sky, piloting you in the sky, and he has to use the methods of thinking or assumption. Oh my God, 200 people dead, straight. He has to be certain on how to fly the flight. It's not about, I think I'm guided. If you think, then leave the religion, because God doesn't need you to be assuming in your religion. He wants you to know, be sure of what you're passing or facing or doing. So as a matter of fact, let me divert the topic a bit. When I take you to chapter 27 verse 84, see what God says on the day of judgment, how he will question some people. Until when they arrive on the day of judgment, until when they arrive, he, God, will say, did you deny my verses while you have not encompassed them in knowledge? Or what did you do? This is the question he will ask people who didn't follow his verses. You understand? So it is not about thinking, I think I'm guided, or I think I know. Oh, no, it doesn't work. So let's see. Nas Khan says, when I was a Sunni, I knew something was not right, and I searched for the truth and asked God every day and night to guide me. And since I became Quran alone 3 years ago, I am certain and no doubt and peace. Yes, you have to be certain. Saud Edo says, did anyone witness multiple meetings of Muhammad with Gabriel? Did anyone witness? As a matter of fact, God sending Muhammad as a messenger to the people, there was no witness. No. And the answer can be found in chapter 4, verse 79. Chapter 4 of the Quran, verse 79. There was no single witness. Just like the Sahih Bukhari followers are lying to you that anytime Muhammad is sitting down, that Gabriel will come in front of the audience, the people, and say, hey, Muhammad, I am Jibril, I am this. Hey, no, it's a lie. Now, whatever befalls you, chapter 4, verse 79, God says, whatever befalls you, Muhammad, of good, then it is from God. But whatever befalls you, Muhammad, of evil, then it is from yourself, you, Muhammad. And we have sent you, listen, we have sent you as a messenger to the people, and sufficient is God as a witness. God sent him to the people as a messenger. Who was there? Nobody. No human being saw that. You get the point. And I'll give you more answers to that. Now, God is sufficient as a witness. Of course, the angels witness it, but God is sufficient as a witness. The reason why I say the angels witnessed it also can be found in chapter 4, verse 166. This is what God says. But God bears witness to what he has revealed to you, Muhammad. He revealed it with his knowledge, and so do the angels bear witness. But sufficient is God as a witness. So God doesn't even need the angels to bear witness, even though they saw it, because they are also with God, right? So they bear witness to it, but God doesn't need them to come and say, Ashadu, Allah ilaha illallah wa ashadu anna Muhammadun abdu wa... No. So God revealed the Quran with his knowledge, and he's sufficient as a witness. Because even though he sent the message through the angels to Muhammad, but God suffices as a witness. No human being saw it with the naked eye. But this is what God requires from you, the human being. In chapter 13, verse 43, let's see what God says. If you want to know Muhammad is actually a messenger of God, and that whatever the Quran says is true, this is how you can find out. You go to chapter 13, verse 43. And Muhammad says, and those who disbelieve say, you are not a messenger. They are telling Muhammad that he is not a messenger. Because they will say, what shows that he's a messenger? How do we know he's a messenger? Then God gave him the answer to give to the people. He says, Kul kafa billahi shahida bayni wa baynakum waman indahu ilmun kitab. So the answer can be found in this verse where it says, and say, sufficient is God as a witness between me and you and whoever has knowledge of the book. So which means you, the one, before you can know Muhammad is a messenger, you need to have the knowledge of the Quran to rectify, to check things out. And how do we do that? We are going to find out. When you go to chapter 4, verse 82, this is how you find out that Muhammad is actually the messenger of God. Because you weren't there when he was given the Quran. So I'm going to help you out. When you go to chapter 4, verse 82, he says, أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ إِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ لَوَجِدُوهُ فِيهِ اخْتِلَافًا كَثِيرًا. God says, do they then not contemplate the Quran? Because Muhammad claimed the Quran comes from God. طه ما أنزلنا عليك القرآن لتشقى إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى. The Quran comes from God, and it's a reminder for whoever fears God, right? So now I need to examine. I want to actually convince that Muhammad is actually a messenger of God. So remember, Muhammad told the disbelievers when they told him, you are not a messenger of God. He says, God, sufficient is God as a witness between me and you and whoever possesses the knowledge of the book. You cannot bear witness. You weren't there when Muhammad was assigned as a messenger. Yours is just to investigate the book, to actually be convinced that, indeed, he was a messenger of God. So now let's see. God said, do they not contemplate the Quran? You need to have knowledge to contemplate something, to assess something, to cross-check something. Then he says, and had it been from other than God, because Muhammad claimed the message came from God. Rasulun min Allah yatlu suhufan mutahhara fiha kutubun qayyimah, chapter 98, verse 2 to verse 3. So the messenger is from God. He brought a message to the people. Hajj Jibril says, my volume, oh, seriously. Hajj Jibril, maybe you have to increase from your side, maybe. Please increase from your side. Salam Alhaji Atal Mahmud. So chapter 4 verse 82, do they then not contemplate the Quran? And had it been from other than Allah, God, they would have found numerous contradiction therein. So this is the assignment God gave me and you to actually cross-check if Muhammad was from God. So if I don't find contradictions, which means Muhammad is from God. This is why Muhammad says, and whoever possesses the knowledge of the book. You need to have knowledge of the Quran to actually know Muhammad was a messenger. You don't need any garbages to come and tell you stories that, oh, we sat with Muhammad, when we were there, Jibril came to him and he said, no. So Saud, this answers your question. Now, let's move on. So now, we've seen in chapter 2, verse 38, it tells us that thus whoever will follow my guidance, the guidance of God, there will be no fear upon them, nor will they grieve. So if you are following the guidance upright, it is not about, I think I'm following God. Oh, I'm not sure. No, you have to be certain that you are following the guidance of God. Apart from that, chapter 20, verse 123, when you go in the verse, and God says, and when guidance comes to you from me, then whoever follows my guidance, then he will not go astray, nor will he suffer. You will not go astray and you will not suffer. This sounds interesting. You will not go astray and you will not suffer. He used the word yeshka. Now yeshka, this sounds familiar. I saw it in chapter 20, verse 2 to verse 3. Ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa illa tazkiratan liman yakhsha. So here, the word tashika in chapter 20 verse 2 is saying to distress you, to make you suffer. So God never sent the Quran in order for you to distress or to suffer. Why did he send it? To become a reminder. Now when something is a reminder, tazkira in Arabic, which means something that can guide you. Let's say I'm sleeping and I set my clock that I should wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Now the moment my clock rings, 5 o'clock. Even though it's a reminder, it has guided me. Because assuming if it didn't ring, I'm screwed. So which means I will not be guided. I'll go astray because I might lose my job or something. You see. So Quran chapter 20 verse 2 to verse 3 actually raises the emphasis here. Because the Quran is a book of guidance. Right? So now here, chapter 20 verse 1, and when guidance comes to you from me, that is from God. When guidance, so here we have to be waiting and checking which guidance claim is from Allah. I have to look for it. Chapter 2 verse 185. Sharu Ramadan allazi unzila fihi al-Quran hudan linnas. Sharu Ramadan allazi unzila fihi al-Quran hudan linnas. God is saying in chapter 20 verse 123, and when guidance comes to you from me, then whoever follows my guidance, then he will not go astray, nor will he suffer. He didn't say the guidance of Sahih Bukhari. Neither did he say the guidance of the Arabs. Neither did he say the guidance of the Jews, nor Christians. When guidance comes to you people from me, that is God. Right? Muktabul Hussain says, for literal meaning of messenger, can we consider yourself as because you have been delivering us Allah's message to us? Yes, by context, a messenger is somebody who delivers the messages of God to the people. That is a messenger. I cannot be classified as a prophet. Yes, no. but I can be classified as a messenger because a messenger delivered the messages of God. So let's see the context of a messenger. Now, who is a messenger according to the Quran? If I take you to chapter 7, verse 35, and now this one is a prophecy, and I'm part of the fulfillment of this prophecy in the Quran. So let's see the prophecy here. When you go to chapter 7, verse 35, this is what God says. He says, Ya Bani Adam, imma yatiyannakum rusulun minkum yakusuna alaykum. Then he says what? Ayati faman ittaqa wa aslaha fala khawfun alayhim wala hum yahzanun. He says, all children of Adam. Now, this message can be found in the Quran. And God is speaking to us in a plural form. All of us, the children of Adam. Right? Excluding the jinns and animals. We, the children of Adam, we are human beings. So, all children of Adam, if or whenever messengers, he didn't say a messenger, whenever messengers come to you, narrating. Now, what is narration? What I'm doing right now on this video is called narrating, because I take the verses of God and I narrate them. I break them down and I narrate them to you. It's like a storyteller. Narrating my verses, that is, God is telling you, the people, narrating my verses to you, then whoever becomes pious and reforms, which means you fix yourself from the ignorance you are doing before, you rectify yourself, there will be no fear upon them, nor will they grieve. Now, this is the duty of a messenger, to come and narrate the verses of God to you without adding or subtracting. Do you see what I do? Now, a sectarian person cannot accept a person like me because he has been taught differently. He has been taught to add jumbles to his faith in order to follow God. You understand? But somebody who wants to rectify himself will listen to me because I'm narrating the verses of God, not the verses of Sahih Bukhari. You understand? The verses of God. And after that, I claim, whoever say I'm lying to the people, I'm deceiving the people, I ask for a live dialogue where we can shame each other and show to the world who is a liar and who is telling the truth. This is all I ask for. Now, so Muqtabal is saying, that answers your question. Yes, I can be classified as a messenger based on delivering the messages of God to the people. That is it. Not as a prophet. No, there's a difference. Sheikh Ibrahim Ayi says, do you believe in Prophet Muhammad? Yes, I do. I believe in Prophet Muhammad as a prophet and as a messenger. But as a prophet, he is dead, he's gone. As a messenger, still alive through the Quran. Yes, because chapter 7 verse 158, he himself says, Ya ayyuhan nas, inni rasulullahi ilaykum jami'an. So he came to every people as a messenger, not as a prophet. He didn't come to all of us as a prophet. He was only a prophet for the Arabians at his time. But as a messenger, that is why I'm using the Quran today, because it's a message from God. So I'm using it. So, of course, I believe in Muhammad alayhi salam. I hope I have answered your question now. Now, let's move on. So now, chapter 20, verse 123 actually explains to us that when guidance comes from God to us, whoever will follow that guidance, he will not go astray and he will not suffer. Now, this is interesting. Chapter 2, verse 38 tells us, you will neither fear nor grieve. So, if you are in a company and you are doing exactly how the boss instructs you, will you be afraid? No. But will you grieve? No. Because the boss cannot sack you. Why will you grieve? You can only grieve when the boss fires you because you haven't been doing the right thing. So I've never seen somebody doing the right thing at the job place and the boss will call him and say, hey, I'm firing you because you are doing the right thing. Now, these two verses, you peg them together, write them down, chapter 2, verse 38 and chapter 20, verse 123. This is going to lead us which guidance did God send to us and where is it? Where are we going to follow it? Can a human being guide us? Yes or no? Can the Quran guide us? Yes or no? God himself is the guide. Yes or no? We are going to find out. So chapter 92, verse 12, it says, indeed, upon us is the guidance. So in a plural form here, like I repeated before, it was the angel actually reinstating such a statement in a plural form. This is not God directly. No. This is the angel reinstating. Now, for people who want to know, this can be found in chapter 81 of the Quran, verse 19. I take you chapter 81, verse 19 of the Quran. That is Suratul what? Takwir. Suratul Takwir. where he says, Innahu laqawlun rasulun kareem. Innahu, the Quran you are seeing, Innahu laqawlun rasulun kareem. Then it says, Zi quwwatin inda zil arshal makin. He's talking about Jibril here as a messenger, right? Because he was given the message to give to Muhammad alayhi salam, and then Muhammad brought it to us as a messenger of God also. So to reinstate this, you go to chapter 2 of the Quran, verse 97. Let's see what God says concerning Jibril alayhi salam. Chapter 2, verse 97. God says, say, he told Muhammad to say, whoever is an enemy to Jibril, then indeed he brought it down. He brought what down? The Quran. Nazzalahu. The word who is a masculine pronoun used for the Quran. Nazzalahu, into your heart by the permission of God. So Jibril was acting as a mediator between Muhammad and God. Muhammad never met God. No. So he brought it down into your heart by the permission of God, confirming what was before it, and as guidance and good news for the what? Believers, mu'minin. If you are not a believer, the Quran is not for you. Said Ibrahim says, do you believe in the teachings of Prophet Muhammad? If do, please can you take us through some of his teachings? Your question is, there's a mishap here because it shows that you are taking some views outside the Quran to ask me this question, which is wrong. You understand? Sayyid Ibrahim, your questioning on its own is wrong. But if I have to answer you in the light of the Quran, this is how it goes. Chapter 62, verse 2 of the Quran. Let's see what Muhammad taught the people. Did he teach them something else apart from the Quran? Let's find the answer. Chapter 62, verse 2. This is what Muhammad was asked to teach his people. So we go. Surah Al-Jumu'ah, verse 2. It says, Huwa allazi basa fil ummiyina rasulan minhum yatlu alayhim ayatihi wa yuzakkihim wa yu'allimuhum al-kitaba wal hikmah wa in kanu min qabli lafi dalalin mubin. Now, he says, he, God, is the one who has sent a messenger among the unlearned. Yes, the people he grew up, they are unlearned, meaning they have never learned any scripture from God. Any book. God never gave them any book. Yes. So they are unlearned when it comes to the scripture of God. Now God says, from them reciting his verses, whose verses? God's verses, to them, purifying them, because the verses of God is supposed to purify you when you start following them. Teaching them the book, not books. Teaching them the book, not books. No entity or no person in his right frame of mind would think Muhammad came to teach books to the people. Yes. Teaching them the book and the wisdom. Now the wisdom can be found in chapter 17, verse 39. It is still in the Quran. It is not something different. Just like Isa alayhi salam, Prophet Isa, chapter 3, verse 48. He was taught the book, the wisdom, the Torah, and the gospel. 4 things. But they are all in the same book in chapter 19, verse 30. They are all included in one book. So similarly to Muhammad, the wisdom can be found in the Quran. Just like today we are here to analyze the guidance. The guidance is not a separate book. It's still in the same book. So let's skip your question for now. I've answered part of it. I'll come back to that later. If you have to know about Salat, I have the full link on YouTube. I've explained the Salat from beginning to end with the verses of God. I don't use any other source outside the Quran to give you the answers concerning guidance. No. So apart from that, now the guidance God is talking about, now we are here to check it in the Quran. Now when we analyze the Quran now, when you go to chapter 61, verse 9, God sent somebody with the guidance to bring to us. And who is that? We are going to find out. He sent somebody to bring this guidance to us. Now, how can we find the guidance without knowing who was sent? So we want to know who was sent and what guidance was that. When you go to chapter 61, verse 9, it says, هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. He, God, is the one who has sent his messenger with the guidance. Listen carefully. With the guidance. Yeah, salam. Mazu. With the guidance and the religion of what? Truth. Not the false religion. Not Ali Sunnah, not Shia, not Tariqa, not Ahmadiyya. No, that is not the truthful religion. And the religion of truth in order to manifest it over every religion. Even if the mushriks, they don't like it, even they don't like it, still, God has to do that. So he sent the messenger with the guidance and the religion of truth. The two things were sent with the messenger. Right? So I just gave you the evidences concerning Muhammad being the messenger of God at the same time. He came to all of mankind. Chapter 7, verse 158. Now he has delivered the message. Now where is the message? We have the Quran now. We are assessing it. We are analyzing the guidance. So the guidance he was sent with, we are going to check in the Quran to see it. Now, when you go to chapter 6, verse 71, listen carefully what Muhammad himself said. Chapter 6, verse 71. We are going to ask Muhammad as a messenger, where is the guidance? Or whose guidance are we supposed to follow? Chapter 6, verse 71 of the Quran. Let's ask Muhammad alayhi salam, whose guidance are we supposed to follow? Or what guidance? Or where is the guidance we are supposed to follow? So let's check. So when you go to chapter 6, verse 71, below the verse, the ending part of the verse, God asked the messenger to say, and this is what he has to say. He says, Kul, inna huda Allahi huwal huda. Then he says, wa umirna linuslima li rabbil alamin. Now the verse is, indeed, messenger was asked to say, indeed, the guidance of God is the guidance. And we have been commanded to submit to the Lord of the worlds. The guidance, listen, the guidance of God is the guidance, which means is the real guidance. Not the guidance of Sahih Bukhari, neither is it the guidance of Muhammad himself. He doesn't have any. Yes, but I will explain to you later how the guidance works, right? So that you can grasp and understand what the guidance is about. Now, let me see, somebody typed. Yes, that is true. Nazkan says the Quran is the teachings of Muhammad. He only preached the Quran. Yes, I already answered that. That is the book he taught the people. Now, so we can see in chapter 6, verse 71 that Muhammad alayhi salam was instructed to say, indeed, the guidance of God is the guidance. Al-Huda. You see, with a definite article. Al-Huda. In Arabic, Adatul Tarif. In English, definite article. Now, when something is definite, if I say the glass, this is the glass. The glass. Meaning you already know which glass I was talking about. Like me saying, oh, previously I put something in a glass and it has water inside. Then I say, okay, hold on, I'm coming. When I bring it out like this, I'll say, this is the glass I was talking about. The glass. Now, when God says the guidance, it is a definite thing. And we are checking it here. So the messenger was asked to tell us, indeed, the guidance of God is the guidance. Not the guidance of Sahih Bukhari, or Jami at-Tirmidhi, or Abu Dawood, or Sahih Muslim. They are all garbages, I'm telling you. I'm serious. They are all garbages compared to the Quran. The reason why I call them garbage is because some lunatics are comparing those garbages with the Quran. So I need to put your book in a certain position you need to understand. Good. Now, when we go to Quran chapter 10, verse 35, yet let's understand how God guides us and how somebody else can guide us also. But in which way can somebody else guide us? So let's understand how God can guide us first. Let's understand that. Chapter 10, verse 35, let's see what the Quran says concerning the guidance of God, right? How does God guide, how can God guide us to the truth? Let's understand that. When you go to Quran chapter 10, verse 35, the messenger was asked to say, Kul, hal min shurakaikum man yadi ila al-haq. Then he says, Kulillah yadi ila al-haq. Afaman yadi ila al-haq ahakku an yuttaba'a amman la yahiddi illa an yuhda. Then he says, Famalakum kaifa takumun. Now the question says, God asked the messenger Muhammad alayhi salam to say, now, whenever God says Atiullaha wa Atiur Rasul, this is how it works. When you open the Quran and it says Atiullah, the Quran on its entirety comes from God. But when it says Atiur Rasul, when you open the Quran, wherever you see the word Kul, this is where the messenger has been instructed to speak to the people, to tell the people, without addition or subtraction. So whenever you see Kul in the Quran, this is the messenger now speaking. He is being asked to tell us this message. So this is how you obey God and his messenger. It doesn't mean go and obey Quran and obey Sahih Bukhari. Sahih Bukhari is not the words of the messenger. It is the words of Sahih Bukhari. Yes. Say, are there any of your associates, your idols, your shuraka, the ones you partner with God, right? Are there any of your associates who guides to the truth? Can they guide me to the truth? The truth, al-haqqu, from God. Chapter 10, verse 32 says, فَمَاذَا بَعْدَ الْحَقِّ إِلَّا دَلَالٌ. What is there after the truth, if not falsehood? What is there again? Sahih Bukhari, after this truth? I go and follow garbages? Are there any of your associates who guide to the truth? Then God asked the messenger to say what? Say, God guides to the truth. God doesn't guide you to Sahih Bukhari or some garbages out there. He guides you to the what? Truth. Then he says, so is one who guides to the truth. Listen carefully. We are going to make a comparison here. Is one who guides to the truth worthier to be followed, or one who cannot guide unless he is guided? Which means when a human being is guided by God, he can now guide you. But God is still making a comparison because the source of guidance has to come from God in the first place. The source of guidance shouldn't come from anybody else. Neither Muhammad, neither anybody, not even Sahih Bukhari. The source of guidance should first be God before anything else. So let's check. So God says, or one who cannot guide unless he is guided. So how do you judge? Which one will you prefer? I would rather prefer the one who is the source of guidance, who guides to the truth, than go and follow somebody's opinion. Do you see? So apart from that, now we can see chapter 10 verse 35 that God has won the argument. Because God says, فَمَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. How do you judge? If we have to judge aright, which means God is the one we have to follow. Because he guides. Nobody needs to guide him. Me, Shuaib Abdullah, someone has to guide me, which is God, before I can guide you. And yes, I can guide you. That is if God has guided me. This is how it works. And I'll explain that today. You see the answer clearly in the Quran. Yes. So chapter 22 verse 54. Let's see what God says again concerning how he guides people. Chapter 22 verse 54. Let's see the answer here. Rebecca and Rena says, peace. The Quran states that the God of the Muslims and the children of the book is the same. That being stated, does that mean that Jews and Christians must close down their synagogues and churches and convert them to mosques? Must the Jews stop celebrating Sabbath, Passover, Hanukkah, and abandon the Torah? Must they only follow the Quran? Not necessarily. Chapter 5 verse 68 answers this question. Chapter 5 verse 66, chapter 5 verse 68 answers this question. Now, the book they claim they have is not 100% Torah. They claim the book they have, the Torah, they say Moses wrote the book. It's a lie. When you check the Torah, Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse what? Verse 5 to verse 8. It tells us clearly that Moses didn't write those verses. Deuteronomy chapter 34, verse 5 to verse 8. Moses did not write those verses in the book they call Torah, which is a fabrication there. Because somebody is writing that Moses died and then he was buried in the mountain of Moab. You understand? So they claim it's Torah. But for them to actually follow God, they need to come and add the words of God from the Quran to those books to cross-check. If you get what I mean. Like chapter 5 of the Quran, verse 48, it says the Quran is dominant, is superior over the previous books. So what you need to do is you take the one God says is superior to analyze the previous books, because he's telling you the previous books has been tempered. Right? When we read the Quran, nowhere did God says he ever gave the Jews a book called Tanakh, but they have a book called Tanakh. Where is the Tanakh from? He never gave them Tanakh. The Torah, they say they have the 5 books of Moses. Moses himself didn't even write those books, if you read it carefully. You understand? So the scrolls of Moses is nowhere to be found. So when you cross-check the book, any book claiming it comes from God, when you find contradictions inside, it can never be from God. Again, of course, you can find some words which are from God, which people have inserted, but it doesn't mean the entire book will be from God. And this is the challenge of the Quran. If you find numerous contradictions, that particular Quran cannot come from God. You get the point. So whatever celebration they are doing in the Hanukkah, the Passover, the whatever, you have to cross-check. Did God actually give them such things to celebrate, or they invented such? We need to cross-check. The Quran is here to stand as a confirmation book of the previous books. So whatever the Quran doesn't confirm, it raises an eyebrow. There's a question mark on it. Yes. Muqtabul Hussain says, Allah teaches Quran, and since Allah is unseen to us, so can his teachings by which somebody understands the Quran can be considered as wahi? The Quran itself is based on wahi. Chapter 21 verse 45. The messenger was asked to say, Kul innama unzirukum bil wahi. I only warn you by what? Inspiration. The Quran is based on the inspiration of God. So this inspiration is still found in the Quran. So if somebody understands the inspiration of the Quran and still lectures you on it, that is considered the inspiration of God. I hope you understand what Muqtabul was saying. Good. Now, when we go to chapter 22 verse 54, God says, and so that those who have been given the knowledge will know that it is the truth. What is the truth? In Annahu, that is the Quran, is the truth from your Lord. Then he says, and they will believe in it. Bihi, that is the Quran. And their hearts will humble to it. Lahu, what is that? The Quran. For indeed, God, listen carefully. For indeed, God is the guide of those who have believed to a straight path. Which means God is the main source of guidance. He is the guide to those who believe to the straight path. So when you believe in the verses of God, then he can guide you. Because Quran chapter 16 verse 104 says, if you do not believe in the verses of God, he will not guide you. So even if Shuaib is guided and he takes the book to teach you so that you'll be guided, if you don't believe what God is telling you, not me Shuaib, what God is telling you, God will not guide you. So this is how guidance works. Do you see? Yes, exactly. Nascan. Whatever contradicts the Quran is out of coverage. We don't use that. Now, apart from that, when we go to chapter 25, verse 31, we can see God is the guide himself. Now, look what God will tell the prophet himself. Let's go and check what God told the prophet himself. So I take you to chapter 25, verse 31. Let's see what he told the prophet concerning being a guide. Chapter 25, verse 31. So he told him this. He said, and thus have we made for every prophet. وَكَذَلِكَ جَعَلْنَا لِكُلِّ نَبِيٍّ عَدُوًّا مِنَ الْمُجْرِمِينَ. Then he says, وَكَفَى بِرَبِّكَ هَادِيًا وَنَصِيرًا. So he says, and thus have we made for every prophet enemies or an enemy among the criminals. But sufficient is your Lord as a guide and a helper. But this statement, he was addressing it to the prophet. So for the prophet, God suffices as a guide for him. God is his guide. No Sahih Buhari, no nothing. God was his guide. So if prophet followed the God as his guide alone, who are we supposed to follow? So let's find out the answer here. Right? So now we can see Quran chapter 10 verse 35. Quran chapter 22 verse 54. Quran chapter 25 verse 31. God is the guide, Hadi. God is the Hadiya. He is the Had. He is the guide, right? But can somebody else or something else, can something else guide me if it is not from God? No. Unless that same thing is from God, then it can guide me back to the way of God, not to somebody's way. So let's find the answer. So we can see here, for people who don't understand, When you are talking about guidance, they might say, oh, only God can guide me. Nobody else can guide me. But ask yourself, how can God come down to guide you? He has to guide you through something. How does he guide you? Do you think he has to come to your room and speak to you? No. So how? Let's find out. Now, when you go to Quran chapter 42, verse 52, let's see how God can use a book to guide you. He will use the book and let the book guide you. Let's see how it works. Just like when you are a driver and you are driving, right? And let's say I always sit in the car with you to teach you how to drive and guide you and say, don't pass here, pass here. On a day that I'm busy and I cannot be with you in the car, what do I need to do? I just need to give you a navigator and then tell you, hey, Brother Shuaib, today I cannot go with you. So what will happen? Set the address here, take the navigator, it will guide you to go. But who gave you the guidance? Which means me, Shuaib Abdullah, I gave you again the phone and said, use the navigator and go. So still, I'm the one who guided you, but through something. So let's see how that other guidance also works. So when we go to chapter 42, verse 52, this is what God says concerning how he can guide you through something. Because some people don't know this. They think when we say God is the guide, so always God has to come down and guide you. Or you have to be in your room and say, God, guide me. Then he will guide you. Not always like that. No. So Quran chapter 42, verse 52. God says, وَكَذَلِكَ أَوْهَيْنَا إِلَيْكَ رُوحًا مِّنْ أَمْرِنَا مَا كُنْتَ تَدْرِي مَا الْكِتَابُ وَلَا الْإِيمَانُ. Then he says, وَلَكِنْ جَعَلْنَاهُ نُورًا نَهْدِي بِهِ مَنْ نَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا وَإِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. What does the verse say? And thus have we inspired a spirit of our command to you, Muhammad. You, Muhammad, did not know what the book was or what was the book. Muhammad never knew the Al-Kitab. When we say Al-Kitab, from God, any book coming from God, Muhammad never read it, he never recited it, he never wrote it before. He never knew what the book was. And God says, or walal iman, nor what we call faith in God. He never knew that. So Muhammad was just ignorant previously. He didn't know God. Right? The Hadithiyuns will tell you Muhammad knew God even when he was a baby, he was a child. The angel came down to open his heart and he put the golden tray of wisdom. What kind of garbage is this? Do you think it's about Superman or Batman movie? So God is telling him clearly here, you did not know what was the book or know what the book was or the faith. He never knew that. But God says what? But we have made it, ja'alnahu. When we say who here, masculine pronoun is addressing to the Quran. Ja'alnahu, a light, nuran, by which, nadi bihi, by which we guide whomever we will among our servants. Which means I can take the book of God and follow the guidance inside, and it can guide me. But when the book is guiding me, who is guiding me? God. So I will explain that to you. Then God now says, since Muhammad, you didn't know the book and you didn't have Iman before, now that we have guided you through the book, this is what Muhammad can do now. And indeed, you, Muhammad, shall guide to a straight path. Because God has already guided Muhammad to the straight path. Kul innani hadani rabbi ila siratil mustaqim. Dinan kiyama millata Ibrahima. Do you see? Chapter 6, verse 161. God already guided him through the book. So that Muhammad now can use the book to guide somebody, but only if God wills. Because you can only guide somebody who believes in the verses of God. You cannot guide somebody who is blind. So the answer can be found in chapter 27, verse 81. This is how to understand how God guides people through people. So chapter 27, verse 81, what does he say? Chapter 27, verse 81. It says, وَمَا أَنْتَ بِهَادِ الْأُمِّيِّ عَنْ دَلَالَتِهِمْ إِن تُسْمِعُوا إِلَّا مَنْ يُؤْمِنُ بِآيَاتِنَا فَهُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. And he says, and you, Muhammad, cannot guide the blind from their error. Which means if the person is already blinded, you cannot guide. But God says what? Only those who believe in our verses will hear. And they are the submitters. Yes. So a submitter who has already submitted to God can listen to the guidance of God, and he can be guided through you who is already guided. When somebody is a believer, just like we have believers here listening to the lectures, you are only gathered here to listen to me, not because of me, because I'm talking about the Quran. That's why we are here. So now, because I'm guided, whatever I teach you from the book of guidance, you will also be guided. Which means God is guiding you through me, because I have to lecture you through the guidance I've been guided. This is how it works. So when God was talking to Muhammad in chapter 42, verse 52, he says, إِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. Indeed, you shall guide to a straight path. Which means Muhammad has already been guided by the same guidance God uses to guide people. So now Muhammad can guide people on that same path. It doesn't mean Muhammad can guide the one he likes or prefers. No. Because the one you love, if they don't believe in the verses of God, you can never guide them. This is how it works. So I'm going to break that down for you today, inshallah. So now, apart from that, I take you to chapter 5, verse 15 to verse 16. Fatima Shi. Chapter 5, verse 15 to verse 16. Let's see what God says. Can he guide me through something else? Or does he always have to give me inspiration to guide me? How does it work? So let's see what God says in the Quran. Yeah. Surah Al-Ma'idah, chapter 5, verse 15 to verse 16. It says, O people of the book, our messenger has come to you to clarify to you much of what you have concealed of the book, while overlooking much. This is what the people of the book always do, right? Then it says, there has come to you from God a light and a clear book. Then it continues, verse 16. Yadi bihi, by which, when God used the word pronoun, bihi is a singular form. He, singular form. By it, or by which. So when God previously mentioned a light and a clear book, it's not mentioning two things, because the light can be found in the same book. Because God explained it in the previous verse I quoted, chapter 42, verse 52. Yes. The light is found in the same book, not outside the book. So when God said, from God, there has come to you a light and a clear book, it's not two things. It's not two. It's the same thing, but God has to mention it in a separate way. But it doesn't mean they are two different things. The light is found in the book. So to understand that, the verse below explains that. Yadi bihi. God didn't say bihima. He didn't say bihima. Yadi bihi, by the book and the lights, the same thing in two in one. Yadi bihi lahu man ittaba'a ridwanahu. So by which God guides those who follow his approval to the ways of peace. If you need peace in your life, to the ways of peace, this is how God can guide you with the book. So God uses the book to guide you because the book comes from him. So when the book guides you, that is God guiding you straight, still. It's not somebody else guiding you. It will be God guiding you. So somebody's asking question. Rebecca Renner says, shouldn't Muhammad have to have had a bit of inner conviction and consciousness that God did exist in order for him to have received a divine revelation? Was the story of him retiring to the cave to meditate, pray to God, a fabrication? Yes, it's a fabrication. That story that they said he went to the cave, Gar el-Hira, whatever garbage is a lie. It's not true. It's not true. Now, to explain this to you, the answer can be found in chapter 93. Chapter 93 here. This is what God says concerning Muhammad. He says, وَالدُّعَى وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا سَجَى مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى وَلَلْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لَكَ مِنَ الْأُولَى وَلَسَوْفَ يُؤْتِيكَ رَبُّكَ فَتَرْضَى أَلَمْ يَجِدْكَ يَتِيمًا فَآوَى وَوَجَدَكَ ضَلًّا فَهَدَى وَوَجَدَكَ عَائِلًا فَأَغْنَى. This is why God is explaining to us who Muhammad was. So God says, and your Lord will give you and you will be pleased. Did he not find you orphaned and provided shelter, and found you lost and guided? Which means Muhammad was lost. Now, what is the definition of lost? You have no idea who God is. You have no idea what faith is. You have no idea what scriptures are. Lost. Rebecca and Rena, I hope you understand this answer here. God found him lost and guided him. So he's lost. And when you are lost, which means you don't know who God is, you don't know what this is or that is, that's how you're lost. It's just like you're driving on the street and you are told you are lost. You're lost means you went to the wrong path. You can never know where you're going again. So I hope that answers your question. Now let's move on. So now I'm trying to show you from the Quran how the book can guide you to God. But when the book is guiding you, that is God guiding you, because the book belongs to God. So now I take you to chapter 34 verse 6. Let's see how the Quran can guide you. Chapter 34 verse 6. Suratul Sabah verse 6. Then he says, and those who have been given the knowledge will see that what has been revealed to you, Muhammad, from your Lord is the truth. That is, those who have been given knowledge, they will see it. That is the truth. And then what? And it guides. Listen carefully. Yadi. And it guides. Wa yadi ila siratin azizal hamid. And that's the book. It guides to the path of the Almighty, the praiseworthy. So a knowledgeable person, even without Muhammad, can follow the guidance of the Quran. Similarly, a knowledgeable person listening to me, even without me, Shuaib Abdullah, a knowledgeable person can follow the guidance of the Quran without me. You understand? Because I'm only like a deliverer. I only deliver it to you and go my way. But it doesn't mean without me you cannot find guidance. If you have knowledge, you can read it and understand it by yourself. Do you see how it works? Now, apart from that, then I take you to chapter 39, verse 23. Surah Zumar, verse 23. Let's see how the guidance works, right? Chapter 39, chapter 39, verse 23. So God says, Allahu nazzal al-ahsan al-hadith kitaban mutashabihan mathaniya taksha'irru minhu juludul lazina yakhshawna rabbahum thumma talinu juluduhum wa qulubuhum ila zikrullah. Zalika hudallahi yadi bihi man yasha. Then he says, Waman yudilillahu fama lahu min had. Now, God says, God has revealed the best hadith, which means God of all knowing knows that there are certain hadiths in the corner somewhere. So since he knows people have created hadith, he has revealed the best hadith. Whatever God gives you is the best, right? It's perfect. So now God has revealed the best hadith, a book similarly repeating. Most of the stories in the Quran, they are repeated. When you take the story of Moses, you will see it in this chapter, it has repeated. You go in another chapter, it has repeated. But how come this small book can talk about a lot of things? This is the miracle of the Quran. So a book similarly repeating. The issues in the Quran similarly repeating. You go the story of Noah, you see it repeated somewhere. Story of Moses, repeated. Story of Jesus, repeated. Story of Muhammad somewhere, repeated. Story of this, repeated. Pharaoh, repeated. You see, you understand? Story of the jinns, repeated. This is how the miraculousness of the Quran. Small book, 114 chapters, but keep repeating, and then the messages doesn't get finished. You keep reading the Quran every day, you see something new. You go back, you come back, you read, you see something new. You are like, what? This is one of that's why it's called the best hadith, because the narrations it gives you is the best. Now, then God said, the skins of those who fear their Lord shiver thereof. They shiver from the book because they can see the reality. They know it's the truth. There's no doubt there. Thus their skins and their hearts soften to the remembrance of God. Now God is going to explain the guidance. That is the guidance of God, by which he guides whomever he will. So by the best hadith we have here, God can use that to guide you. Through the book, the best hadith, the Quran, he can use that to guide you. So he says, as for one whom God leaves astray or sends astray, then he will have no guide. Which means, if God doesn't send you astray, you can have a guide. But if God sends you astray, nobody can guide you again. Because he owns the guidance. And he decided you are not going to follow it because you don't believe in his verses. How can he guide you? Chapter 16, verse 104. He said, whoever doesn't believe his verses, he will not guide you. It is a law he put down there. You don't believe me, I don't guide you. That's what he said. It doesn't mean God will intentionally send people astray. He doesn't do that. He is never unjust to the people. Chapter 10, verse 44 to 45. Go and check. God is never unjust to the human being. So we can see here through the Quran, God can guide you. Apart from that, we go again. Chapter 72, verse 1 to verse 2. Even the jinns, they know the book is a book of guidance. So let's go and check. Chapter 72, verse 1 to verse 2. What did the jinns themselves say? They said what? Say. God asked the messenger to say, it has been inspired to me that a troop of the jinn listened to the Quran. They listened and said, indeed, we have heard an amazing Quran reading. Verse 2, it guides to the right guidance. So we have believed in it. And we will never associate anyone with our Lord. These are the jinns talking. These are the jinns actually talking, telling you that they have heard, they are listening and said, indeed, we have heard an amazing reading. It guides to the right guidance. So we have believed in it. You see how it works? So the Quran can guide you because it is the book of God and God has put guidance inside. So the Quran can guide you as a navigator to tell you what to do, what not to do. So when the Quran is guiding you, that is God guiding you. Good. So now let's go. Now I take you to chapter 17, verse 9. This is the interesting part itself, which explains whatever it says concerning the Quran. The answer is here. Chapter 17, verse 9. Chapter 17, verse 9. The answer of whatever I said concerning the Quran. This is where I'm going to show you now. It says, chapter 17, verse 9. It says, Inna hazal Qur'an yadi lillati hiya aqwa. Inna hazal Qur'an yadi lillati hiya aqwa. Now, when somebody doesn't understand the language of the Quran, he might think, oh, I thought God is the only one who can guide me. How come God is saying the Quran can guide me again? Because the Quran is the book of God. And God put guidance into it. So it can guide you. And now when that Quran is guiding you, who is guiding you? God. Do you see the point? So God says, indeed, this Quran guides to that which is more appropriate and gives good news to the believers who do good deeds, that they will have a magnificent reward. So the Quran can guide you, yes, because it's the book of guidance, chapter 2, verse 185. God brought it down to serve as a guidance for mankind, not for the Arabs, not for the Chinese, not for the Africans, for mankind. So it's a guidance. So God is telling you, the knowledgeable person, to know that this book can guide you. Just like you are driving, I give you a navigator and I tell you, use the navigator, it will take you to your destination. Simple. Salam. Rasidu. Now, so now we can see, apart from God, the Quran can also guide you. But now let's see, can another human being guide me? If yes, by which guidance? If no, why? Let's find out. So now I take you to chapter 6 verse 90. But before chapter 6 verse 90, if you start reading from chapter 6 verse 82, it talks about Abraham. After that, it mentioned about 19 of the prophets altogether. Zechariah, Jesus, Moses, Abraham, it mentioned almost all of them, right? Then after that, now he's going to tell us something interesting. Then he says, Ulaika allazina ada Allah. Then he says, Fabi udahum ektadi. Now, there's something interesting about this verse I just quoted, chapter 6, verse 90. Now, the interesting part here is God spoke about all the prophets and he told us how he guided them. God guided them. Now, he guided them so that they can serve as a light for the people, so that they can also lead people for guidance. But when they are leading people, it doesn't mean they are going to use their opinion anymore to guide you, the people. They are going to use what God says to guide you. And when they guide you, it's not they guiding you. God is the one guiding you, because they are using guidance of God to guide you. They are not using their own guidance to guide you. Similarly, I sitting here, I cannot use my own guidance to guide you. I can only use the guidance of God to guide you because I'm guided. This is how it works. You don't use your own guidance to guide somebody in the deen of God. You use God's guidance to guide you. So like I showed you, God can guide, the Quran can guide, and yes, a human being can guide when he's following the guidance of God. So let's see the answer here. Chapter 6 verse 90. God says, Ulaika allazina hada Allah, fabi'udahum iqtadi. Those are the ones whom God has guided. The prophets I just mentioned, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Zechariah, John, he mentioned the list from chapter 6 verse 82. You read downwards to 90, you see the list of the prophets. But here he's telling Prophet Muhammad about them, the previous prophets. So then he says, those are the ones whom God has guided, because God guided them. They cannot guide it themselves. Nobody here sitting here can guide himself to God. It's God who has to guide you. Even if it is the book guiding you, it is not you guiding yourself. It's the book guiding you. You see how it works? It's just like using a navigator in a car to drive. When you reach a destination, it doesn't mean you use your own mind to reach the destination. The navigator is the one helping you to reach your destination. So similarly, that's how it works. So now let's see. Then God says, so lead by their guidance. He's telling Muhammad, lead. فَبِأُدَاهُمْ اقْتَدِي. So by their guidance that God has guided the prophet, that we can find in the Quran, we can see Abraham, the footsteps of Abraham, we can see the footsteps of Jesus, we can see the footsteps of Moses, we can see the footsteps of Zechariah, John the Baptist, we can see all of them. So since their guidance, the way God guided them can be found in the Quran, God is telling Prophet Muhammad to lead by their guidance, which means he has to lead the people, again, by their guidance. So now, can I do it too or not? Yes, I can. I can lead by their guidance. Yes, I can lead. I'm going to show you the answer. Muqtabul is asking a question. Let's see what he says. He says the meaning of Arabic term man yasha'u is whomever Allah wills to guide, or whoever asking for guidance. Man yasha'u means whoever wills. Man yasha'u. Maybe you didn't put your question well, because the word huda or hada in Arabic means guide. You didn't put any guide there. You only said whomever Allah wills to guide, or whoever asking for guide. Please put your question well so that I can answer it properly. If you put a wrong question, the answer might come out wrong also. So let's move on. So now when I take you to chapter 2 verse 159, the reason why I say if God has guided me, I can guide you. If God hasn't guided me, I cannot guide you. This is how it works. If God guides somebody who is a believer in God and can follow God's guidance, he can guide somebody who also believes in the verses of God. But if God never guides you, you cannot guide somebody. So I'm going to break that down for you from the evidence of the Quran. Now, when we go to chapter 2, verse 159, chapter 2 of the Quran, verse 159, let's see what God says. He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ يَخْتُمُونَ مَا أَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْبَيِّنَاتِ وَالْهُدَى مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا بَيَّنَّاهُ لِلنَّاسِ فِي الْكِتَابِ. Then he says, أُولَٰئِكَ يَلْعَنُهُمُ اللَّهُ وَيَلْعَنُهُمُ اللَّاعِنُونَ. Indeed, those who conceal what we have revealed of the proofs and the guidance. Now this is interesting. If I don't know that the book of God contains the guidance and the proofs, how can I hide it? How can I conceal it? I need to know. I need to be a knowledgeable person to know there is the guidance and the proofs there in order to hide it. If I don't know, I can't hide it. Let's say I'm walking on the street and I find a piece of gold and I don't know what gold is. And I take it. Why will I hide it? Why? Why am I hiding something I don't know? I need to know it is a piece of gold before I can hide it, conceal it in my pocket. Yes. So God says, indeed, those who conceal what we have revealed of the proofs and the guidance. Then listen carefully. Then God says, after that which we have made clear to the people in the book. God has made it clear. That's why Kitabul Mubin, he says Kitabul Mubin, chapter 44, verse 1 to verse 2. Chapter 43, verse 1 to verse 2. Chapter 27, verse 1. chapter 26, verse 1 to verse 2, it tells you the book is clear. It's clear, but for the knowledgeable people. It doesn't mean every Dick, Tom, and Harry can take the Quran and understand. It doesn't work that way. It is just like a mathematics pamphlet. When you go to meet mathematicians, whenever there's a pamphlet, when they take it, they can tell you, oh, come on, this book is easy. But you, who doesn't know 1 plus 1, go and take it and see if it is easy. It's never easy. No verse in the Quran ever did God says this book is easy for everybody. He never said that. I see sometimes people quoting chapter 54 verse 17 or 24 to say, oh, وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلْذِكْرِ فَعَلَّمِ الْمُدَّكِّرِ. God never says easy. He's talking about the remembrance. To remember a quotation from the Quran is very easy. You can capture it in the head and remember. That's how God made it easy. But he didn't say he made it easy to understand. There's no one single verse where God says the Quran is easy to understand. No. It is not a book a Dick, Tom, and Harry can just carry and use it. No. You need to possess knowledge. Now, chapter 2, verse 159. Indeed, those who conceal what we have revealed of the proofs and the guidance after that which we have made clear in the book to the people, then God says what? Those are the ones whom God has cursed, and they are cursed by the curses. Yes, because how can a person like Shuaib, you know the Quran actually is clear. Why don't you tell the people? Why hide it? Do you get my point? The scholars who are beating their chest that they are scholars, why are they not revealing the truth to the people so that life can be easy for the people? Why are they claiming to go and follow Sahih Bukhari when guidance is clearly in the Quran? So God says, indeed, those who conceal what we have revealed of the proofs and the guidance. Now check. The guidance has a datul tarif, a definite article. The guidance. Why don't you manifest it and show to the people? So when I claim I'm a scholar in the guidance of the Quran, I lecture people the guidance of the Quran. It doesn't mean I am in charge of guidance. Who teach? Some ignorant people don't know how to listen. Chapter 39 verse 18 is telling you when you are listening to the word, follow the best of it. Listen to the word and follow the best of it. You don't just listen to somebody to twist your own understanding. When I claim I'm a scholar based on the guidance of the Quran, which means I've studied about the guidance which can be found in the Quran. So I've gained mastery into lecturing people concerning how to follow the guidance of God. So God is saying here clearly, indeed, those who conceal what we have revealed of the proofs and the guidance. I'm sitting here, I'm not concealing it. I know it, so I'm revealing it. But because I've studied deeply, I can now take it out and reveal it to the people. Now, when you are master in studying something and you can teach to the people, what are you tagged as? You are a scholar in that field. So by people who belong to the sectarian religions, go and ask them. They will tell you, oh, when it comes to this, I'm not a scholar in this. Go to this, we have a scholar of this. We have a scholar of Nahu. We have a scholar of Tajweed. We have a scholar of that. Yes, leave it to the people who are scholar in that field. I claim I'm a scholar in terms of lecturing people the guidance of the Quran. It doesn't mean I'm the one who has guidance to guide people. No. Learn to listen to wise people. Don't misquote wise people. When wise people make statements, you know what they are talking about. The other day I was speaking to a brother, and I said, we all know 1 plus 1 is 2, right? All of you watching, you know 1 plus 1 is 2, right? Yes, we know, right? But in some context, I can let 1 plus 1 become 3 or 4. You'll be sitting down thinking, what? No way. Okay, let me convince you. Now, when I'm single, I'm 1. When I get married, I become 2. So 1 plus 1. Then we give birth to a kid. We can have 1 child or 2. Now, where did the 1 child and 2 children come from? Did they come from outside? No. They came from us. So 1 plus 1 can give you 3 or can give you 4. Do you see? But based on context. So I can be talking to you and say, hey, 1 plus 1 can give me 4. You can be saying, no, wait for the wise person to explain to you. This is why Moses was sent to go and learn some knowledge.
chapter 18, verse 65. Go and read downwards to 82. Moses went to learn a different side of knowledge. You don't be quick to judge a knowledgeable person, especially a wise person, when he makes a statement. Because before wise people speak, they think before they speak. They don't speak before they think. But a fool speaks before he thinks. So by the time he makes corrections, it's already too late. Yes. Now, Muktabul Hussain says, Allahu ya'di man yasha, means whether Allah guides whom he wills. Yes. God guides whomever he wills. And then he guides whoever makes the effort to be guided. So let me give you the example. When you go to chapter 74, verse 56, for instance, God says, Kalla innahu tazkira, faman sha'a zakara. Then he says, Wama yaskuruna illa an yasha Allah, huwa ahalu taqwa wa alul maghfira. Then he says, Zalika biqadirin ala an yuhi al-mauta. Now God says, nay, indeed, it is a reminder. So whoever wills should remember it. Then he says, and none will remember unless God wills. And he, the person who God can make him remember, he must be qualified for piousness and qualified for forgiveness before God can cause you to remember. Now, when we talk about guidance too, how God can guide you, he guides you based on repenting to him. And this is how it works. Let me give you the verse. I think I have it here. Chapter 42, verse. Yes, chapter 42, verse 13. God says, God chooses whomever he wills to it. That is to his guidance, right? To the religion and to the book. And guides whoever repents to him. God guides whoever repents to him. So let's say God wants you to repent. You said no, you don't want to repent. How do you expect him to guide you? You understand? You need to repent in order to be guided. You don't repent, he doesn't guide you. Just like the devil did. When God asked him to prostrate, he refused. Did he repent? No. Did God guide him? No. When Adam made a mistake, did he repent? Yes. Did God guide him? Yes. You see how it works? So when God says he guides whomever he wills, meaning if you are willing to repent, he will guide you. You don't want to repent, no guidance. So chapter 42 verse 13 gives that answer. Muktaba Hussain, I've answered your question. Now let's move on. So now I'm taking you to chapter 19 verse 43 of the Quran. Let's go and see. If God guides me, can I guide somebody? Yes or no? Let's see the answer here. Chapter 19 verse 43. This is Abraham with his father. This is what happened between Abraham and his father. Chapter 19 verse 43. Surah Al-What? Maryam. Verse 43. So let's see what God said in that verse concerning Abraham and his father, alayhi salam. So he said, Ya abati, inni kad ja'ani min al-ilm ma lam ya'tika fattabini hadika siratan sawiya. He says, oh my father, indeed there has come to me of the knowledge. Listen carefully. Which means he has gotten a particular knowledge. Then he says what? Which has not reached you. Which means I have gotten a knowledge which you, the father, don't have. Then he says, so follow me. I will lead you, or I will guide you to a straight path. Do you see how it works? Thank you very much. He said, follow me. I will lead you, or I will guide you to a straight path. The word used there is hadika. Hadika. Siratan sawiya. Because of the knowledge he got from God. Follow me and I will guide you. Did the father follow him? No. Because the father is not willing to believe in the messages of God. So he will not be guided. So Quran chapter 16 verse 104. Whoever doesn't believe in the verses of God, God will not guide him. This is how it works. When a person has made the intention to believe in the verses of God, which means he's ready to repent, so then yes, God can guide him. But the moment he doesn't want to follow verses of God, what shows he's ready to repent to God? No. You get the point. Now, so when you take chapter 19, verse 43, by context, Abraham had knowledge which the father doesn't have. What did he tell the father? Follow me and I will guide you to the straight path, or I will lead you to the straight path. By this context, yes, when a person receives guidance from God, he can guide somebody who is willing to be guided in the way of God. The reason is that the person you are trying to guide, if he is a believer in the verses of God, you can pinpoint the guidance for him to follow. And he will follow it, and he will be guided through you. This is why God sent messengers to people, in order to teach people who are willing to be guided. Then they can follow the guidance. Good. Apart from that, we go to chapter 40, verse 38 of the Quran. Chapter 40, verse 38 of the Quran. Let's see what God says concerning guidance. Yet again. I have about 25 minutes to end the program. So chapter 40, verse 38, it says, now, and the one who believed said, O my people, follow me. I will guide you, or I will lead you to the way of right guidance. Now, in the house of Pharaoh, when Moses came to preach to them, to deliver the message of God to Pharaoh, there was somebody who believed in God, but he was hiding his belief. But then, and the one who believed, so he came out and spoke. When Moses was talking to Pharaoh, he came out and spoke. It says, and the one who believed said, O my people, follow me. I will lead you, or I will guide you to the way of what? Right guidance. The word used, the word ahdikum sabila rashad. Ahdikum. I will lead you, or I will guide you. But some people will say, oh, guidance is only for God. Yes, by context, you need to understand. Just like I give you 1 + 1 can become 3 or 4. Based on context, you need to understand when a wise person makes a statement. Don't misquote wise people, and don't try to use your own understanding, because the wise person is above you in understanding. So when he makes a statement, ask him for clarification. Don't use your own opinion to break things down. This is the stupidity of most people out there. And this is why God told the prophet himself in chapter 73, when you read from verse 2 downwards, he says, Inna sanuluki alayka qawlan thaqila. We are going to what? Bring down a heavy word upon you. The Quran is a heavy word. It is for people who possess intelligence. It is for wise people. A stupid person cannot grasp the message of the Quran. This is why Quran chapter 25 verse 44 is telling you, do you think that most of them listen or reason? And God says what? They are just like Kel-An'am, like livestock. And God further places the emphasis that they are more astray than even the livestock. Because when a livestock grows up, the only thing he worries about is getting food, having babies, sleeping, eating, you understand, going here and there, no job, no salary, no taxes, no nothing. Do you understand? And you, the human being, who is supposed to reason sound and clearly, you are here fooling yourselves, following garbages without verifying. You don't verify your salvation between you and God. You don't verify when you are told something. Now, so we can see chapter 40 verse 38. The believer told the people, follow me and I will guide you to the straight path. Which means there's already the path of God, but he will guide you to it. So this is how a human being can guide you to God. But it doesn't mean he's guiding you with his own guidance, like the Sahih Bukhari followers always say. They will say, oh, I'm following Sahih Bukhari because it teaches me how to do salat. Are you dumb? A boss will bring you to a company to work and he will not show you how to use the tools and work there. Is that what you are telling us? Or it's just because you don't have knowledge? Good. Now, so apart from chapter 40 verse 38, we go to chapter 21 verse 73. Let's see, can somebody else guide us? But if yes, by what? Let's see. So chapter 21 verse 73. Let's see what God says concerning guiding people or guiding others. Can we guide other people? Yes or no? So chapter 21 verse 73, God says, and we made them. God is talking about the children of Abraham, like the Isaac, Jacob, and you understand. So when you read the verse above, you understand. And we made them a'imatan, that is leaders, imams. God says we made them imams. We made them leaders, guiding by our command. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَعَدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا. They are guiding by God's command, by our command, which means, since I am guided by God and I'm following the Quran, the book of God, I can guide people who are willing to be guided by God. I'm not going to use my opinion, no. Neither will I use my own guidance, no. I'm using the same book God guided me, then I can guide somebody. Just like God told the Prophet, chapter 42, verse 52, إِنَّكَ لَتَادِي إِلَى صِرَاطٍ مُسْتَقِيمٍ. You shall guide to a straight path, because he has been guided. Do you see how it works? So same way, when you go to a workplace, your supervisor there, he has been guided by the boss, told what to do before he became a supervisor. So you, the worker, the supervisor will now tell you, go left, go right, don't sit here, stand here. These are the instructions from the boss to you. So now he is guiding you as a worker also, because you are willing to work there. If you don't want to work there, you say, fuck off, I'm not working here, I'm going. Then you are fired. You see, excuse my language. Now, let's go again. Chapter 21, verse 73, we've seen here. It says, and we made them leaders, guiding by our command, and we inspired to them the doing of good deeds, establishing the salat, and giving the zakat. And to us, they were what? Servants, that is, worshippers. Now, apart from that, I take you to chapter 32, verse 24. We see something similar again. Chapter 32, verse 24. Can somebody else guide me? Yes, if the person is also following the guidance of God, they can guide you. Now let's see here. God says in chapter 32, verse 24, and we appointed them, or we appointed leaders among them, guiding by our command, after they were patient and were certain of our signs. Right? That is among the children of Israel, the people of Moses. Right? So now God says, and we appointed leaders, because this is why a leader is called a leader. He is leading you based on the guidance of God. I didn't put the video here to lead you based on Sahih Bukhari or some garbages. I'm only here leading you based on the guidance of God. I'm not here to tell you about BBC or CNN or Al Jazeera. I'm here to tell you what the book of God, which guided me, is here to tell you also. So any intellectual person listening to me, if I'm lying, they can check and say, oh, Shuaib is lying. If I'm telling the truth, they can check and say, oh yeah, Shuaib is telling the truth. They check, which means they are following the guidance of God. It is not the guidance of Shuaib anymore. I don't have the guidance. Neither does Muhammad have the guidance. You see how it works? Good. So now, it says, and we appointed leaders among them. And this is why there is always a leader in a group, because the group follows the footsteps of the leader. This is how it works. You understand? And the leader must be following the guidance of God in order to command the people by the commands of God, not his own opinion. Good. So we have seen in chapter 32, verse 24, about the guidance. Then we get again. We thought only God guides to the truth. Chapter 10, verse 35. God asked, is there any of your idols who guides to the truth? Right? And God says he is the one who guides to the truth. But now I'm going to show you a verse whereby somebody else can guide you to the truth. But if he's guiding you with the truth, whose truth is he using? Is it his own truth or God's truth? So let me help you. Chapter 7, verse 181. Surah Al-Araf, verse 181. I have 15 minutes more. So let's see. Chapter 7, verse 181. God says, وَمِمَّنْ خَلَقْنَا أُمَّةٌ يَعَدُونَ بِالْحَقِّ وَبِهِ يَعْدِلُونَ. God says, and among those we created is a group of people, or is a nation, guiding to the truth, or guiding with the truth. They are guiding to the truth or guiding with the truth. And by it, by the truth, they do justice. The truth can only come from God. Al-haqqu min rabbikum. Faman sha'a falyu'min wa man sha'a falyakfur. So among those God created, there is a group of people or a nation guiding with the truth or guiding to the truth, and by it, that is the truth, they do justice. You see? But when somebody doesn't understand this context, he will say, no, how can somebody else guide you to the truth? No, he's guiding you to the same truth that God wants to guide you to. So when that person is used as a vessel for you to be guided, if that person is not a scholar, is not learned, doesn't know his left and right, how can he guide you to the truth or with the truth? Hello? I hope you're with me. If I'm not guided by God to understand his scripture, how can I lecture you and guide you to the truth? I need to be a scholar in my field in order to be able to lecture you. Then you can know, oh yeah, now I understand. This is this way, that is this way. But it doesn't mean I'm using my own guidance. I don't have my guidance. If God hasn't guided me, how can I guide you? Do you see how it works? Salam, brother. Brother, your name is in, I think, I don't know which language. It is in a Thai language. I cannot pronounce it. So pardon me with that. Thank you very much, Naskan. So you see, so we go again. Then I take you to chapter 13, verse 7. Now this verse is very, very, very interesting. Before I go to this verse, you remember I quoted chapter 22, verse 54 and chapter 25, verse 31. God saying he is the heart, he is the guide himself. Can we have another person, somebody else who is a guide? Yes or no? Let's see. Chapter 13, verse 17 of the Quran. Sorry, chapter 13, verse 7, not 17, sorry. Chapter 13, verse 7, Surah Ar-Ra'd, that is Surah chapter of the thunder. God says, and those who disbelieve will say, why has a sign not been revealed to him from his Lord? Then God says, you, Muhammad, you are only a warner. You are only a warner because God chose him to be a warner, according to chapter 25, verse 1. Now, and for every people is a guide. And for every people, there is a what? Heart. But who appoints that heart? God is telling you now. It is God who appoints that heart. So when that guide is guiding you, it is God guiding you. Just like when Donald Trump issued a command that this soldier go and kill that military soldier. Who? If you, the military soldier, goes to kill, automatically Donald Trump killed that person, not you, the one he sent, because you are acting on a command. So when God says for every people is a guide, it doesn't mean that guide is going to bring Sahih Bukhari or bring some garbages and say, come, hey, I have created some guidance. Come, let me guide you. Come and do this. You do the salat 5 times, okay? And then you have to do the salat to al-Nabi every Friday, okay? No, not that garbage. No. Stop it. When God says for every people is a guide, which means every people need a leader. You need a lead, somebody who is rightly guided by God, who can lead you to the truth, not to lead you to his opinion. Just like I quoted chapter 7, verse 181. God says among those he created, there is a people or group of people or a nation guiding with the truth, and by it they do justice. So now imagine a leader who is following the scripture of God, who has been guided by God, and you are following such a leader. Can't he be just to you? Of course he's just. So when he's guiding you, do you think he's telling you to follow his own opinion? No. He will only guide you by the guidance of God. That's how it works. That's how a person can guide you. But that is if he's guided by God. So to summarize that answer, I'm going to summarize that answer for you. This is why God said in chapter 36, verse 21, through the servant of God, chapter 36, verse 21, this is the answer here. The believer in God, he was telling his people, he said what? Follow those who are what? Follow those who do not ask you for wage while they are guided. He says, a man came from the farthest of the city striving. He said, oh my people, follow the messengers. Follow those who do not ask you for a wage while they are guided. I do my lectures here every week. That is, if God has given me the audacity to do. I don't tell people, hey, pay me 10 euros before I do my lectures. Neither do I say, hey, put money in my bank account before I teach you the truth. I don't do that. I'm guided. For people who are intelligent and wise, they can see I follow the guidance of God, because that is where I used to lecture you. Now, what do you lose when you're following a person like me? That I'll come and tell you, follow my own opinion? No. I teach you the words of God and go my way. So follow those who do not ask you for a wage, and they are guided. What do you lose? You lose nothing. Yes. But people would rather go and follow somebody who is not guided and asking them for money. Yes, check the celebrity scholars. Check the celebrity scholars. You check Zakir Naik and Mufti Menk and see how the wages they get. Check how they get paid. And you go and follow him and you tell you Sahih Bukhari again. Now, let's continue. Thank you very much, Muktaba Hussain. I appreciate that. Now, let's continue. So, we can see clearly God is the guide himself, but God can guide you through the Quran, so the Quran can guide you, but Quran will only guide you to God. Then again, a human being can guide you if he's already guided by God. So God can guide, the Quran can guide, then a guided believer can also guide. But meaning he ought to guide you by the Quran, and the Quran guides you to what? God. This is how the guidance works. It's just like a networking. For people who do networking, business, networking, marketing, you understand how it works, right? Good. So we can see the instance in chapter 42, verse 52. God told Muhammad, after he has guided him, he can also guide. So some people will say, hey, I thought Muhammad couldn't guide. Based on his opinion, he cannot guide you. Yes. Using his own opinion, he can't guide you. God never gave him that authority to guide you using his opinion. So let's see. Muhammad himself, alayhi salam, chapter 34, verse 50. Let's see what he says concerning guidance. Whose guidance is Muhammad alayhi salam following? Is it Sahih Bukhari? No. Is it Sahih Muslim? No. Jami at-Tirmidhi? No. Abu Dawood? Sunan al-Nisa? Or any garbages they have? No. Imam Maliki, Shafi, Hanbali, Hanafi? No. So let's see. Whose guidance is Muhammad following? Now Muhammad is going to speak as a messenger. Let's ask him. God asked him to say, Kul, in dalaltu fa innama adillu ala nafsihi. Then he says, Wa in itadaitu fa bima yuhi ilayya rabbi. Innahu sami'un qareeb. Say, the messenger is telling us, if I should err, or if I should stray, or if I should make a mistake, that is dalaltu, is to err, then I will only err against myself or by myself. But if I am guided, then it is by what my Lord inspires to me. You see, and we all know the inspiration he received, which is the book of God, the Quran. Chapter 17, verse 73. The disbelievers wanted him to fabricate something else, apart from the inspiration he received from God. But not possible. So that is the Quran. Then he says, indeed, he is hearing and nearby. So God is hearing and nearby to every believer. Listening. Good. So now we can see by this context of this verse that Muhammad alayhi salam, he can err. To err is human. To err, even me, I can err. But if I'm guided, it is by God. So whoever is listening to me, if you claim I'm lying or I made a mistake or I said something wrong, you cannot actually judge me using the book of God, then you are ignorant. Because chapter 5 verse 50 says, who will desire, is it the judgment of ignorance? Jahiliyyah, you desire? Now who will desire any judgment of ignorance whilst I have the book of God and I'm certain of the verses of God, the judgment of God? Why will I follow any other judgment? Do you see my point? You have to use the book of God to judge me, because according to God, whoever doesn't use the book of God to judge is a disbeliever, is a transgressor, and is an immoral person. That is in the religion, in the deen. Chapter 6 verse 114 tells you clearly, if you seek any other judge apart from God, you are out of coverage area, because he has given you a book which is clearly elaborated. Why can't you use the same book to judge somebody? Do you get my point? Good. Now, chapter 28, verse 56. It says, إِنَّكَ لَا تَهْدِي مَنْ حَبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. So God is telling the prophet, you cannot guide the one you love. However, God guides whomever he wills. Now, somebody who doesn't understand the Quran will think this verse is contradicting chapter 42, verse 52, where God says, you shall guide to a straight path. The reason why God says you cannot guide the one you love, if they are not interested in the verses of God, nor are they willing to repent to God, nor are they interested to follow the verses of God, you can't guide them. You are wasting your time. So this is why when I come to do my lectures, stupid people think I'm here to lecture any other people out there. No, I'm here to lecture intelligent people. People who have put their lives down to follow the verses of God, to follow the book of God. These are the people I'm here to lecture. I don't waste my time for ignorant people. After God telling me in chapter 7, verse 199, وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْجَاهِلِينَ, he says I should turn away from ignorant people. So why will I waste my time, sit here and lecture ignorant people? I don't do that. I'm here for intelligent people, smart people, wise people. That is what I'm here to lecture. So if you think I'm just here looking for viewers, to get 2,000 viewers, or to get paid, then you are nuts, because I'm not starving. I have a good job and I get a good salary. I earn a good salary for it. So don't fool yourself thinking, I do this because it's part of my craft, my leisure. I love doing this. That's why I sit here. If I have the time, if not because of my family, I can do this 3 times in a week. I would love to do that. Yes, because I love lecturing people the truth. Yes, and people who know me face to face, they will tell you that. Yes. We can have a normal conversation. Through conversation, I can start lecturing you. This is the way I am. Yes. It's a gift from God and I'm grateful for it. Now, let's continue. When you go to chapter 2, verse 272, this is what God told Muhammad alayhi salam. Chapter 2, verse 272. Let's see what God told Muhammad alayhi salam. God says, "Laysa alayka hudahum, walakin Allah yahdi man yasha." Their guidance is not upon you, Muhammad, but God guides whomever he wills. The reason why God said this, if somebody has to be guided, it has to be by God. It's either you use the book of God to guide somebody, or you keep quiet if you don't know. Don't come and say your opinion. Don't come and say Sahih Bukhari. Don't come and mention any garbage. So that's why God told Muhammad emphatically, their guidance is not upon you, which means it's not based on him to guide people. You can only guide a person when he's willing to be guided by God. So Quran chapter 16 verse 104 tells you, whoever doesn't believe in the verses of God, God will not guide him. So even if you love that person, you can't. Even if you have met a lady and you think, oh, she's beautiful, she is this, I want to marry her. You can't guide her if she's not willing to follow God. No. Don't waste your time. It will not work. No. You can only guide those who want to be guided by God. It's because you are guided so you can lecture them. But go and ask the Sahih Bukhari followers. Can they guide anybody? They can't, because their scholars themselves are not even guided. They are following garbages. They will take a book, they will tell you, the ulama, there's consensus that the ulama says, if you do it like this, it's okay. And the other group say, if you do it like that, it's not. This is what they do to you. Yeah. They will tell you, if you are going to do salat, the hadith says, some scholars say you can stand like this. No, some say, no, you should put your hand, it's no problem. So which is which? Still a problem. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. So chapter 24 verse 54. The reason why you have to follow the messenger, you listen to the messenger. This is the reason. Chapter 24 verse 54. That is Surah Nur. Then I go to verse 54. Let's understand why you need to obey the messenger that God sent. Because God says for every people is a guide. Now when God sends somebody as a messenger to you, he has to deliver the messages of God to you, not his opinion. And this is what happens. Say, obey God and obey the messenger. But if you turn away, then upon him is only what has been imposed, because God has put an imposement, has imposed something upon him. And upon you is what you have been imposed. And if you obey him, who is that? The messenger. If you obey him, you will be guided. But you can see here, I'm obeying a human being. But based on what? The command of God. So when I obey him as a messenger, I'll be guided. And only the clear notification is upon the messenger. That is the only thing. Not Sahih Bukhari. And where can I find the balag? The balag, where can I find it? Go to chapter 14, verse 52. The answer is there. Haza balagun linnas. The balag God is talking about. Wama ala rasuli illa balagu mubin. Chapter 14, verse 52. You find it there. God says this is the balag. Haza balagu linnas. The Quran is the balag. So the messenger was asked to just remove the message of the Quran, tell us. So if I obey what he says from the book of God, I'll be guided. Because the Quran is the book of guidance. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Chapter 2, verse 2. That is the book wherein there is no doubt, as guidance for those who are pious. So this is the same book a messenger will use to tell you something. So if I obey it, I will be guided. Do you see? Good. Now, almost bringing this to an end, when you go to chapter 64, verse 6, it says, that is because their messengers brought them proofs, but they said, shall a human guide us? This is what some people ask, even among Quran alone followers. Because they don't understand, they will say, oh, how can a human guide us? You need to understand the steps on how God is explaining the guidance to you. A human can guide you if he's only following the guidance of God. So he can teach you the same thing he has been guided with. That is how a human can guide you. Just like the messenger following the verses of God himself. So he doesn't have to come and teach you another book. He has to teach you the same guidance he has been taught by God. That's how a human can guide you. But through the verses of God, not his own opinion. So they ask, shall a human guide us? So they disbelieved and turned away, and God relinquished. So God abandoned them. For God is rich and praiseworthy. If you don't want to follow God, God doesn't lose anything. You will lose. You need him. He doesn't need you. You need him. Chapter 5, verse 54. Go and check the answer there. Yes. So when we go to chapter 14, verse 21, on the day of judgment, this is what happens. Now we can see that I was telling you that a human being can guide you when he has been guided by God. But if he has not been guided by God, there is no way he can guide you. So let's see the answer in chapter 14, verse 21. And they will appear before God, that is on the day of judgment, all together. Then the weak will say to those who were arrogant, indeed, we were your followers. So can you spare us at all from the punishment of God? They, the arrogant ones, will say, if God had guided us, listen carefully, had God guided us, we would have guided you. But because those arrogant ones were not guided by God, because they refused to follow the verses of God, they cannot guide their followers. So if I'm Shuaib Abdullah, I'm guided, then I can guide you, the listener. Because when I'm showing you what God says in the book, you go and check it for yourself. Then you can be guided. But the point is, if I don't teach you sometimes, how can you know the answer? That is the point here. So this is why God assigns a guide for every people, that the guide can lead the people by teaching them what needs to be taught. Then they can go and teach themselves also. Do you see how it goes? So the answer can be found in chapter 3, verse 79, where God was explaining the position of a human being when God gives him authority or leadership. I'm going to read the answer here. Chapter 3, verse 79. This is what God says. He says, it is not for a man that God should give him the book. Listen carefully. The judgment, hukmah, and then give him what? Prophethood. Then he will say to the people, be my servants besides God. But be spiritual leaders through what you have been taught of the what? Book, not books, book. And through what you, the people, have studied. Then you become a spiritual leader because you have been taught something and you have studied it, so you know. So this is what God requires to you. Be spiritual leaders through what you have been taught of the book, not books, the book, the Quran, and through what you have studied. Because when I come here and I lecture something, I lecture the people what needs to be taught. Yours is just to write the references down and lecture yourself and teach yourself and study. This is how you can become a learned person in your field. Then you know what you want from the book of God. You see how it works. So then, on the day of judgment, this is what they will say. They, the arrogant one, will say, if God had guided us, we would have guided you. It is the same for us, whether we are worried or patient. There is no escape for us on the day of judgment. Those who are arrogant, who didn't follow the verses of God, this is what they will tell their followers. You see, so this is why Quran chapter 36 verse 21, you need to follow those who do not ask you for wage and they are guided. But you, the follower, must know that that person I'm following is guided, following the verses of God. Do you see how it works? So chapter 16 verse 104, God says those who do not believe in the verses of God, God will not guide them. No, he wouldn't guide you. Never. Just like when somebody wants to drive, the law says if you don't have driving license, don't drive. If you are caught, what happens? You go to jail. So the kind of people God doesn't guide, let's see the list of people which God will not guide them. No matter what, God will not guide. I'm going to mention it for you. God does not guide a disbelieving people. Somebody who disbelieves in the verses of God. He doesn't believe it. You will tell him God says this, that. He doesn't believe it. To the funny part, hey, Salim Yankuri, God doesn't guide a person when he doesn't believe in the verses of God. You know, sometimes you even quote the verses of God to somebody and he calls it opinion. And he'll tell you, oh, that's opinion. What do you mean opinion? Verses of God, opinion? Chapter 2 verse 264. Chapter 5 verse 67. God does not guide a disbelieving people. The reason why they are disbelieving people, chapter 5 verse 44, because whoever does not judge by what God has revealed is a disbeliever. So a disbelieving person doesn't believe in the verses of God. He would rather use a different judgment to judge you, just like the Sahih Bukhari followers. God does not guide a transgressing people or unjust people, Zwalimun or Zwalimin. He doesn't guide them. Chapter 2 verse 258, chapter 3 verse 86, chapter 5 verse 51, chapter 28 verse 50, chapter 46 verse 10, chapter 61 verse 7, chapter 62 verse 5. He doesn't guide transgressing people. Because chapter 5 verse 45, it says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمُ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمِينَ or Zwalimun. They are az-zalims. A zalim doesn't judge by what God has revealed. He would rather use Sahih Bukhari or something else. Apart from that, God does not guide immoral people, people who are not willing to follow ethics. They are not a people of ethics. They are immoral. They don't want to follow rules. Chapter 61 verse 5, chapter 63 verse 6, chapter 5 verse 108. Because chapter 5 verse 47 says, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمُ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْفَاسِقُونَ or fasikin. So if you are a fasik, God will not guide you. Apart from that, chapter 39 verse 3, God does not guide one who is a liar. Somebody who is a liar, God cannot guide you. He will not guide you. You are a liar. Because the book of God is the truth. It tells the truth. So somebody who is a liar, God will not guide him. Because how can a liar follow the truth? It doesn't work. You understand? If somebody is a professional liar, is a liar, he can't follow the truth. Because he's not willing to be a truth teller. So how can God guide such a person? So God doesn't guide a liar and a disbeliever. Chapter 39 verse 3. No, he will not guide you. If you are a liar and a disbeliever, he can't guide you. Chapter 40 verse 28, God does not guide one who is a profligate. When we say profligate, debauch, somebody who is morally corrupted, who is immoral. Musrifin or musrifun. Or musrifun or musrif. And a liar. So somebody who is corrupted by moral standards and a liar at the same time, God will not guide such a person. Do you see? So this is how it works. Muftabul is saying, yes, chapter 2 verse 8 says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَقُولُ آمَنَّا بِاللَّهِ وَبِالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ وَمَا هُمْ بِمُؤْمِنِينَ. A real believer is explained. A true believer, go to chapter 8, verse 2 to verse 4. It explains who a true believer is. So when somebody just opens the mouth and say, oh, I believe in God, I believe there's a judgment day, but doesn't follow the verses of God, is not classified as a believer. According to chapter 2, verse 8. You see, that person is not a believer. So to bring this topic to an end, when we say followers, can we have followers in Islam? For instance, me sitting here, can I have followers who follow me? Yes, I can have. But in what sense? You are my followers based on following God, not my followers based on celebrity status or fame. No. You can become my follower based on we are following God together. For instance, chapter 36, verse 21. It tells you to follow those who do not ask you for wage and they are guided. So when you are following such a person, you become a follower. But it doesn't mean you are a worshipper. There's a difference. When we say tabi'in, taba'a, to follow somebody. Now, apart from that, chapter 3, verse 31, the messenger himself, he says, In kuntum tuhibbun Allah fattabi'uni. If you love God, if you should love God, then follow me. When you follow him, you are his follower. But then you are following him because of God, because you love God, not because he is the messenger or because he is Shuaib. Do you see? Apart from that, chapter 12, verse 108, God asked the messenger to say, Kul, Hazi sabili adu ila Allah. This is my way by which I invite to God. Ala basiratin, by perception. Ana wa man ittaba'ani, I and whoever follows me. So the one following me is following because I'm leading him to the way of God. I'm not leading him to my own doctrine. So yes, I can have a follower, but not in the sense of celebrity status. I have a follower based on somebody who is following me to learn how to follow God. That is how it works. So somebody can be my follower. Yes, and I can be somebody else's follower if they can lead me to the guidance of God. Apart from that, chapter 3, verse 20, when you read that verse clearly, you can see the understanding thereof, whereby the messenger was asked to tell the Ummiyuna that they would submit to God. Now listen carefully, the grammar used there. God says, so if they argue with you, then say, I have submitted my aim to God, and so have those who follow me. Then he says, and say to those who were given the book and the unlearned, have you submitted? And if they have submitted, then they are indeed guided. But if they turn away, then only the notification is upon you, Muhammad, and God is cognizant of the servants. You can see here in this context, Muhammad submitted to God as well as those who follow him. They follow him. So in this context, we explain they are the tabi'in, his followers. Go to chapter 9, verse 117. You see it there. He has followers. Right? Good. Then apart from that, chapter 7, verse 158. The messenger was asked to say, Kul ya ayyuhan nas inni rasulullahi ilaykum jami'an. At the end of the verse, God says you should follow him because he's a messenger. He already told you in chapter 3, verse 31 that if you love God, follow me. When you are following him, it's not because you want to cheer him up as a celebrity. You are his follower because of God. You see, apart from that, chapter 3, verse 68, God says the foremost of people among people are those who followed what? Abraham and those who followed the prophet Muhammad. The foremost of people that God is ranking among people are those who follow prophet Abraham as well as this prophet Muhammad. So when you are following him, doesn't mean you are following him as a celebrity or not to be raising up his shirt and no. You are following him as a follower of God. Apart from that, can somebody be your supporter? Can somebody support me in terms of God? Yes, somebody can be my fan or supporter. It's not haram. Neither does it go against the teachings of the Quran. The reason is, I show you, Isa bin Maryam, the son of Maryam, chapter 61, verse 14, he asked for followers. And let's see how it works. Now you are asking for followers based on the guidance of God, so that they can go, you all can go to God. So when you check chapter 61, verse 14, it says, oh, you who believe, be supporters of God. Listen carefully. As Jesus, the son of Mary, said to the disciples, Who are my supporters to God? Who are my supporters to God? If you are the supporter of Jesus, doesn't mean you are worshiping Jesus. You are a supporter of Jesus because of God, because he is leading you to God. So if I'm sitting here and I call somebody my supporter or my follower, it's never a wrong thing because I'm only leading you to God. I didn't say come and become my supporter or follower just because I want to be a celebrity over you. Never. If I want to be celebrity over people, I will limit, restrict even my lectures. I will say, hey, you have to pay me. You have to do this for me. You have to do that before I lecture you. That is somebody who wants to override you for fame or something. You understand? Then again, when you analyze the verse, it says, who are my supporters to God? Listen to the grammar. Who are my supporters to God? So when you are the supporter of Jesus, he is only calling you to God. It doesn't mean come and be his supporter just for, cheering up and say, hey, hey. No, not that. The disciples said, we are supporters of God. You see the answer they gave him. They are his supporters based on God. Yes, they support Jesus. That's why we call them Ansarullah. Even the Prophet Muhammad, he had supporters. Chapter 9, verse 117. He had Ansar also. Yes, to have supporters is normal, but in the way of God, not for anything's sake. Right? Then apart from that, can you be a follower of somebody to be taught guidance? Yes, you can be. Even Moses alayhi salam, chapter 18, verse 66, he had to follow the servant of God in order to learn guidance. Yes, you can be a follower of somebody to be taught guidance. Now, if somebody you are going to follow to teach you guidance doesn't know guidance, he's not a scholar in understanding guidance of the Quran, how can he teach you? Or how can you follow such a person to teach you? So all this amounts to when people misunderstand where I say I'm a scholar of the Quran based on lecturing people the guidance of the Quran. Doesn't mean I have my own guidance that I guide people. No. I have studied thoroughly the guidance God has given us in the Quran. Since I am a scholar in that, I can teach people how God wants to guide them. That's what I claim. Now, the other day, I called people my fans when I was having a dialogue with this ignorant guy, this clown, that is Ridwan. So when I was making a statement, I said my fans don't understand what Ridwan is saying. Some Quran alone followers have misunderstood this statement. And they think, why did I call people fans? Why don't you understand context? When a wise person speaks, please understand context. The reason why I mentioned fan, because on that particular day, it's like a rivalry. I'm facing an enemy. He has fans, of course. I will also have my fans. But my fans will always support me because they are supporting the truth, and which is the book of God. So whoever would cheer me up on that day is considered a fan, but not because of worldly affairs. This is a fan based on the way of God. So somebody who is your supporter, who supports you, can be classified a fan. Why do you think football match people go to sit down and cheer the other team against the opponent? Because they are supporting the one they want him to win or her to win, is they become a fan of that person. So if I say, oh, my fans, it doesn't mean on the base on I want to be a celebrity or I want to be look, I'm tired of my kids even chasing me around everywhere I go in the toilet and then I'll come here trying to be a celebrity. What do I need from the people? Huh? I want to have a peaceful life and a simple life, not here for people to cheer me up as if I'm the best in the world. No, I'm only here to give people the truth. So if you are supporting me, which means you are supporting God. If you are my fan, you are the fan of God. Because I only give you the truth from God. That is what I do. So please, people, stop misunderstanding wise people when they make a statement, an utterance. Try to humble yourself to understand them. Why do you think Moses wasn't able to finish his lectures? Chapter 18, verse 65 downwards. After 3 lectures, he was dismissed. Because of what? Arrogance. We have people who are arrogant, thinking they know better than somebody teaching them. Yes, and I've encountered a lot of people on my path like that. Look, if you are better than me in a certain position, the only thing I need to do is to humble myself to learn from you. I cannot be loggerheads with you in order to learn. You can never teach me if I'm a loggerhead with you. Now don't think when you are a Quran alone follower and you are following the Quran means you are in the same level intact knowledge with somebody. No. God never made us equal in terms of knowledge. Go to chapter 12 verse 76. In terms of knowledge, even in the classroom, you are not equal-headed with everybody. Somebody is ahead of you in knowledge. What you need to do is humble yourself so that somebody more knowledgeable than you can actually direct you or teach you so that you can add to yours. You don't become big-headed just because you are a Quran alone follower. You think you have level intact with some. It doesn't work that way. Why do you think Moses wasn't able to finish his lectures? He went there trying to correct his teacher. Somebody teaching you. You are there trying. First of all, when a wise person, I keep repeating, a wise person makes a statement, try to ask for clarification. Now, the truth can be told to you, but it doesn't mean you agree. Go to chapter 8, verse 5 of the Quran. Muhammad alayhi salam told the truth to the believers, but some of them got angry. Even the believers at the time of Muhammad. They got angry. They hated what Muhammad said, even though it is the truth. So just because you think you are a believer or a Muslim or following the Quran doesn't mean you are on the right path always. You need to attain certainty to know the difference between understanding something and not agreeing with something. Right? The truth can be told to you, but you can choose not to agree. But it doesn't mean it's not the truth. Yes, that's how it works. So if you don't have knowledge in something, please, humble yourself, get taught before you even approach or take that the lane. Me coming out to call people my fans, I never even call people my fans till that day when I was having a dialogue with Ridwan. I only said fans based on context, and some people think, oh, he corrected himself. I never corrected myself. It wasn't a mistake, neither was it a wrong statement. I said it based on context. Just like I'm telling you 1 + 1 is 2, but based on context, I can change it and let it become 3 or 4. Yes, 1 + 1 can become 2, 3, or 4, based on context. I already explained that. But people don't understand. So you need to actually let somebody who you deem as knowledgeable explain some things to you. But don't seek for opinion. This is how you learn. Opinion is what kills the truth. Because when you are using truth and you mix with opinion, it destroys the truth. That is why Quran chapter 2 verse 42, it tells us we should not mix the truth with falsehood. Because the falsehood will end up covering the truth. So you need to give the people the truth as it is. You understand? We all have views. Everybody watching me here has opinions. If you say this necklace looks nice on me, somebody might write and say, no, I don't like it on you. But at the end of the day, who cares? This is me and my body. So if you say you don't like it on me, I didn't wear it to please you. This is what people should understand in life. Don't expect everything Shuaib says will make sense to you. No, some things might not make sense to you, but it doesn't mean you should become a disbeliever just because of that one statement Shuaib made. Yours is just to follow the best of what you listen. This is what God asks of you. Chapter 39 verse 18. And he tells you, chapter 17, verse 36, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. So even if it's Shuaib giving a lecture and you don't have knowledge in that, put it aside. Pursue what you have knowledge in, till when you are satisfied with understanding later on, then you pursue. This is how knowledge works. You see, so that's simple. So I don't see why people should rather take things personal. And look, I never take things personal when people approach me. I just see it in the light of, like, I take it as entertaining. When people approach me, it gives me pleasure because then you are relevant. Because when people approach you, this is why I try my best not to ward off people away from me when they are approaching me to get enlightened. Because I love what I do. So I try my best to also help people to understand the same guidance I'm following. The simple advice is, just because something doesn't make sense to you doesn't mean it's not the truth. So please, let's humble ourselves when we're trying to learn the truth. Hey, Salam, Abdul Salam Ali. So ladies and gentlemen, this is where I drop the topic for today. And yes, for some people saying there's nothing like scholar in Islam, please go and study well. Chapter 35, verse 28. Ulama, scholar can be found in the Quran. Apart from that, chapter 26, verse 197, scholar, ulama. When we say ulama, it comes from the word alim, somebody who knows something. So ulama is in the plural form. So knowledgeable ones, ulama. So when we say ulama, it can be found in Islam. It is in the Quran. But we are only saying ulama based on somebody who can lecture you the guidance of God, the truth about God. We are not saying ulama like the way you see Zakir Naik, Mufti Meng. No. That is the context of ulama according to their hadith. You understand? When we say ulama, it's a learned people, like group of people. They are learned. They know the left and right to everything. They can tell you, do this, do that. This is the evidence. This is here where it's written. And it's there. The children of Israel had ulama among them. Chapter 26, verse 197. So don't let anybody tell you there is nothing like scholar in Islam. There is. There is. And by the way, the PDF version of the latest version of the Quran is ready. Now the hardcover and the paperback is still being printed because there are some designs I need to get adjusted. So this is why it has taken long. I apologize for the delay. I thought it would be ready last month, but unfortunately there are some adjustments which needs to be done. But as to the PDF version is available, I'm just looking for a way that it can be accessible by Amazon and Google Playbook. That is where it is more easier to use, right? So very soon you'll be having it. I'll be sharing it with people. And then for those, I promise that you get the copy of the hard copy. I'll make sure you get your own copies and it will be available for people to access, inshallah. The Quran is ready, I will say, but we're just waiting for the hard copy to get ready to be delivered to people. So I'll find a way to inform the people as soon as the hard copy is available, or maybe in my next lectures I'll bring it on board and show you how it is. Then you can all see how ready it is. The PDF version is ready, and we see next week, God willing. I'll make sure I have a lucrative topic to discuss. I appreciate your support. Subhana rabbi izzati amma yasifun wa salamu ala al-mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.